So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Welcome back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Tuesday, June 22nd. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Tuesday, June 22nd here today as we are heading into another big night here in sports tonight. Yankees start up a 3-game set against the Kansas City Royals today. And last night, obviously, was a pretty big night in sports. The New York Mets had a doubleheader against the Atlanta Braves. Jacob deGrom was dominant as usual. He lowers his ERA to .50. And, I mean, just absolute dominance from Jacob deGrom. There's no other way of saying it. There's no other way to put it. There's no other way to phrase it. It is dominance. He is the best pitcher in baseball, one of the best pitchers we've ever seen take the mound every 5 days in the MLB as he continues his success and his dominance yesterday. And the second best pitcher, I believe, in New York, and the second best pitcher, I believe, in baseball is Garrett Cole. He is out there on the mound today against the Kansas City Royals. If everything holds up with the weather, that game will be played today, and that will be the first of 3 games between the Royals and the Yankees. Very, very, very big set for the Yankees because it's a great opportunity. The Royals are nothing and not a special team by any means. They got good bats. They got guys like Whit Merrifield, and they got guys, on that roster, Santana, and they got some guys like that on that roster. They definitely got some big bats, but they are nothing that the Yankees can't handle. That's what I would say. They're a good young team, the Royals, but they're nothing that the Yankees should not be able to handle. It's not going to be easy. Like an easy win. It's going to be, they're going to bring competition. But I definitely think if the Yankees play like they did against the A's and the Blue Jays, this should be a very well series win. A sweep, I don't know, but very easily a series win for the New York Yankees if we continue to play like we did. And hey, the New York Yankees right now, they're playing good baseball. And we're 38-33. A couple weeks ago, this time last week, we were talking about this team at a 33-32 record, and just like that, they went 5-1 in their last 6 games, and they're now, 38-33. So the Yankees are rolling right now. We're playing better baseball. Won 5 of our last 6, and we swept the Blue Jays. Won 2 out of 3 against the A's, and now we play today against the Royals. So, and the Rays are skidding too. They're another team. So the Yankees now, right? This is, again, the Yankees are starting to get on a run. We've got to get on a run, and we've got to sustain this run and continue to play well. So, Yankees play today, Mets play today, and obviously the Islanders got smoked last night. 8-0 they lost. So, that's a game right there. That could be a season-teller game. That could be a season-defining game right there for the Islanders to lose 8-0 like that and to just get smoked that badly. It's just terrible. It was a terrible loss by the Islanders, a terrible game by the Islanders, and, everything that could have went wrong, I would say, went wrong for the Islanders in that game on Monday night, obviously last night. So they have a day off today. They'll play again tomorrow, and hey, tomorrow's it. You win tomorrow, you move to Game 7, you lose tomorrow, your season's over. So the Islanders have got to come ready to play tomorrow. They've got to come ready. They've got to go out and play the hard. They got to play their best game of the season. It's an elimination game. They lose tomorrow, their season's done. So the Islanders need to win 2 more to move on. Lightning, all they got to do is take care of business once. But like I mentioned, Yankees, Mets, both on today, and obviously the Islanders with a day off today. So slowly, little by little, it's starting to get really into the baseball groove where it's really just baseball on, obviously. But, and obviously the Yankees got the Yankees had a day off yesterday, and the Mets split the series yesterday as they won the first game and they lost the second game. So they split the doubleheader yesterday, and like I mentioned, Yankees, Mets on today. Mets play third game of that of the set against the Braves. Obviously, 2 were yesterday, 1 today, and I believe there's another one tomorrow. And then the Yankees start up a 3-game set at home against the Royals. So with that being said, let's get into the topics for today's podcast. Got a lot to get to today. It's going to be a very action-packed podcast. especially with this first topic that I'm going to talk about. I've been saying it for a long time, be prepared. I'm going to talk about this. I've got a very strong opinion on spin rate. I've got a very strong opinion on the MLB situation with the spider attack and sticky stuff. So that's what I'm going to talk about first. I'm going to talk about the spin rate in baseball. I'm going to talk about MLB spin rate. I'm going to talk about what I think it means. I'm going to pretty much sit here and tell you this because I've gotten a lot of questions from a lot of people because it's a hot topic in the MLB. It's a very hot topic in sports. In regards to, with the inspections now and the sticky stuff and all that stuff. It's very hot. It's a very hot topic in the MLB right now. Okay? I've got a very strong opinion on it. I'm going to tell you my opinion on it. Okay? I know there's a lot of people out there, and I want to help those people out because a lot of people are getting, in a way, brainwashed from all this media and all these people talking about it. I'm going to give you my side of it. And then after this, you can comment down below what your thoughts on spin rate is, right? You don't have to change your opinion, but I want to give my opinion. It is very frustrating to me how people are handling spin rate, how people are talking about spin rate. Half the people that are talking about spin rate have no clue what it means. They're just jumping on it anyway and just talking about spin rate. So I wanted to really get into it. I wanted to talk about it. If you're going to ask me straight up, I think spin rate's useless. I think it's stupid that people, especially fans, are overreacting to spin rate and overreacting to strikeouts. I think it's useless. I think people being concerned about spin rate, people are blowing it out of proportion. They're blowing it out of proportion. There's no other way to say it. So I want to get into that. Then, as I mentioned yesterday, I wanted to get into Ben Simmons as well. Obviously, the guard for the 76ers. I mean, what's going on with Sixers? Are the Sixers going to move on from Simmons? Are they going to kind of blow the whole thing up? This is, again, the whole trust the process thing with the 76ers. They went all those years of stinking, being terrible, and they were able to build through the draft, and they, yet again, come empty-handed. They lost to the Atlanta Hawks, obviously, in 7 games, and they are now, yet again, finding themselves watching the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals on television, not being in it. And again, the 76ers failed to meet expectations. And again, Ben Simmons seems to really hurt the team late in the season. I wanted to get into him, talk about his future and what the 76ers should do with him. Then I wanted to finish off the podcast with the New York Sports Update. As always, Yankees, Mets both on today. Like I mentioned about 5 times already. Yankees start up a 3-game set against the Royals, and the Mets continue their series against the Braves. Islanders got smoked last night. They got a day off today before they play tomorrow. Big game tomorrow for them. It's a win or go home. And Barry Trotz, he's got to tell his team, like, pretend that game never happened. Pretend that game never happened. Those are one of those games, you always want to look at film. You always want to look at, what you did better and what you did wrong in games. That's one of those games that happened last night. The game last night that happened between the Lightning and the Islanders. That game last night was a true example of a film trash type game. What that means is take the film, throw it in the garbage. Forget about that game. Pretend that game never happened. Right? There's too many negatives to even find any positives. Now, there's always that saying, oh, well, you can maybe find a negative. Out of every negative, there might be a positive. No, that's false. I mean, I understand that, but last night's game was full of negatives. Your goalie got pulled, Varlamov, he let up 3 goals. Then Eloy Sorokin comes in, he lets up 5 goals. Okay, Matthew Barzal gets thrown out because he was cross-checking in the heat of the moment, right? That's a game where you take that film and you forget about it. Pretend that game never happened. Barry Trotz should let that know to his guys. Like, that game never happened. Pretend like that game never counted. Pretend like that game never happened. Because looking at film, trying to, look at stuff that went on in that game is not going to help you. It's only going to make you more frustrated. That's how bad the Islanders were last night. They let up 3 goals in the first period, 3 in the second period, 2 in the third period. Okay? They got to be better. And they got to come to play tomorrow. Because if they lose tomorrow, their season is done. And that's going to be frustrating. I mean, to lose for the second straight year against the Lightning like that would be tough. So tomorrow's a big game for the Islanders. But with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So the MLB right now is in a very interesting situation. I want to make this clear first. Right, every league, every sporting league, every prime sport league, MLB, NFL, NBA, and obviously the NHL have all got a big stat that everyone focuses on. In the NFL, for a quarterback, it's a lot, for a prime position. For the quarterback, it's a lot of touchdowns and interceptions. You can look at the yards, and you can look at the average per play, and you can look at his, his time in the pocket, and his accuracy, and his completion percentage. It's a lot touchdowns and interceptions are what a lot of people look at. If your touchdowns are low and your interceptions are also low, a lot of people are not going to think you're that good because your touchdowns are low. If your touchdowns are high, people are going to think you're good. They're not going to look at all the other stats. For defense, it's a lot, for a cornerback, it's a lot of interceptions. It's not a lot of winning one-on-one coverages. It's not pass deflections. It's not percentage of the ball thrown your way. It's not locking down some of the big-name receivers. It's interceptions. If you don't load up the stat sheet with interceptions, not many people are going to think you're that good. Same thing with a defensive lineman in the NFL, right? It's a lot of sacks. Sacks. That's all people care about. They're not worried about pressures. They're not worried about how quick you get off. All people care about is sacks. Right? That's how it is in the NFL. NBA, for a player, it's a lot of points and assists. For defense, it's a lot of blocks and steals. They're not really focused on any other stuff. NHL, it's goals. Goals. For defense, it's a lot of block shots, and that's really it. And some assists. And finally, but not least, in the MLB, for a pitcher, it's a lot of ERA and a lot of strikeouts. And for a hitter, it's hits and home runs. Batting average and stuff like that. That could be, a stat. But a lot of it, people are so focused on home runs. If you only have 15 home runs, people are going to be like, this guy's average. Because they don't look at the other stats. And that's what's going on right now in the MLB. And all these people that say, this stat's useless and this stat useless. Well, all these people that are so caught up in spin rate, you are so caught up in a very useless number. Okay? Spin rate is very useless. I don't even know if I want to call it a stat because it's not really like a stat. It's not something that you average. I mean, you could say it's a stat, but when you look up a player's stat, their spin rate's not going to be there. So I'm just going to call it, I would just call it a stat. I mean, I don't really know if it is considered that. I'm getting a little logistical here, but I don't really know if it's that or if it's a stat or if it's like just an analytic or if it's just a number or whatever it is. I don't really know quite what it is. I mean, I know it's useless and I think it's very useless, but in my opinion, I think it's very stupid. And right now in the MLB, people are blowing spin rate way out of proportion. They are blowing it way out of proportion. Okay, this whole sticky substance, this spider tack, this whole situation in the MLB, in a way, has created like a monster with fans. It has created fans to just go crazy over some of the most useless things in the sport. Now, all of a sudden, people are all caught up in spin rate and the RPMs. Okay, no. Just because of the spider tack. Let me tell you this. A little bit of a history lesson here. Baseball and sticky stuff, spider tack, using pine tar, that's been going on since the 1800s. That's been going on since baseball started. Okay? Sorry to break it to you, but it has. If you don't believe it, it has. So if you still don't believe it, that's bad. But it has, okay? It's been going on for a really long time. Spider tack, pine tar, pitchers doctoring the baseballs, getting it, liking a scuffed ball, using the rosin bag and the sunscreen stuff. That has been going on since baseball played its first ever game. Okay? There's no denying that. It's been going on for the longest time. Now, you think that's not right? How do these players know it now? It's because it's gone passed down generations to generations, and still to this day they're using it. I mean, if you think of an example, there's been players in the past couple years that have been thrown out for using pine tar. Not just this season have they been using spider tack and they've been using this thing. They've been using this stuff for the longest time now. They've been using it since baseball started. Same thing with the batting and stuff. All right, corking the bats. Not that players are doing it really anymore, but that stuff too. Cheating has been going on in baseball for a very long time. And that's why I don't even know if you want to consider using a foreign substance cheating anymore, because it's been going on for that long of a time. And for all this time that it's been going on, nobody has said a word about spin rate. Nobody has said a word about this guy's strikeouts being up or down. Nobody has said anything. The only reason MLB it's getting brought to their attention is because strikeouts are down, and home runs are down, and batting average is down throughout the league, and overall offense is down throughout the league. That's the only reason why they are cracking down on foreign substances. That's the only reason why. Last year when home runs were at an all-time high, were they talking about foreign substances? No. Year before that, they weren't talking about it at all. Years and 20 years before that, they weren't talking about it at all. It's only because strikeouts are up, walks are down, and the fact that hitting as a whole is down this year. That is the only reason why they are starting to crack down on foreign substances. It has been going on for years, people. You gotta live up to it, all right? I'm sorry if you don't believe it. It's been going on for years. It's been going on since baseball started. It's been going on since the early 1900s. It's been going on for the 150 plus years baseball has been around. Sorry to break it to you, but it has. The only reason they're paying attention to it this year is because hitting as a whole across the league is down. Last year, they were complaining that there was too many home runs. Now this year, they're complaining that offense is down. So that brings into my spin rate conversation. Last year, was everyone all caught up in spin rate? No. When there was a guy that was throwing 8 innings every game, was everyone's call saying that he was cheating? No. No one was saying a word. This is why spin rate's useless. We have not talked about spin rate this much, ever. The only reason it's being brought to our attention is because the offense is down. See how they're changing the sport? They're changing the way the game is played just because of one season? See what's happening? And it's not just Garrett Cole. It's not just Trevor Bauer. It's not just Tyler Glass now. 80 to 90% of the league is using it. It's not just a select few players. It's over 80-90% of the league. You don't believe it? There's text message proof. There's proof of teams calling to get a supply of the spider tack. I don't even know if I would consider it cheating because it's been going on forever. Houston Astros, that's cheating because no other team has done it like them. They use that whole garbage can, that's cheating. Using something that's been going on for 150 plus years is cheating when it's been going on for that long? And all these people now are so caught up in spin rate? If everyone's so caught up in spin rate, what does RPMs mean? What does a decimal means? What does it mean? How much is it low? How much is it down? What is the average spin rate should be? What is above average? If everyone's so caught up in spin rate, let's hear what all the spin rate means. Spin rate is the most useless stat ever. And I can't stand that these networks are buying into it. And the fans are buying into it. Spin rate. No one cares. Are you really worried about Garrett Cole's spin rate if he throws 8 innings of 1-run ball? Are you really going to complain that his spin rate's down? No, you shouldn't be. If that's the case, then that's crazy. Right? If a guy throws a no-hitter, you really going to be worried about if his spin rate's down? No. And the only reason they're focusing on it is because this year, the hitting is not what it was. That's the only reason. The only reason. This is the first time in a while we've seen this pitcher being this successful. And now they're really cracking down on it. And now spin rate's such a hot topic. And now people are starting to worry about spin rate. Spin rate means absolutely nothing. So how about this? Tyler Glass now said he got injured. Or he got injured. He admitted he was using it. And he said the reason he got injured was because he was trying to really get more of the spin rate onto the baseball. He got injured that way. So all these fans that complain about a guy being injured and then they complain about spin rate, you got to find an in-between. People complain, for example, Garrett Cole, people complain that he can only go 5, 6, 7 innings. He goes 8 innings. He goes really far into a game. People complain that his spin rate and strikeouts are down. People, I'm sorry, you got to find a median. You got to find somewhere in the middle. You can't always complain about the sport either way. Whether Cole goes out there and throws 8 innings, you got everyone saying, oh, spin rate and strikeouts are an issue. Okay? To be honest, I would rather Garrett Cole only throw 5, 6 strikeouts. I would. You want to know why? Because he's more efficient. He doesn't get into a lot of the 5, 6 pitch counts every single at bat. He's efficient. He goes into the games and he could pitch deeper into games. Look at the big picture. Don't just look at the spin rate. Don't just look at the strikeouts. This is another thing. You got to look at all the stats in a whole. That's why I brought it up early in the podcast. I said each league has a stat. Basketball, it's all about points per game. Football, it's all about touchdowns. Baseball, for hitters, it's all about home runs. For pitchers, it's all about strikeouts. Okay, why don't you look at the ERA? Why don't you look at the whip? Look at the walks per nine. You could still look at the Ks per nine. Look at how he does against certain batters. Look at how he's done with runners on base. Look at how their walks are. Garrett Cole does not walk many batters. Anyone going to focus on that? Instead of looking at strikeouts and spin rate, go a deeper dive into the other stats. And this isn't just Garrett Cole. This is across the league. What about Trevor Bauer? His spin rate might be down. The other day, he went out there through 115 pitches, 7 innings, and he struck out like 8-9 batters. His spin rate is down. Is that an issue? He still went out there and was dominant. Are you going to complain that his spin rate's down? Right? It's wild. It really is wild how spin rate's getting completely blown out of proportion. I don't care if a guy's spin rate's down. The only reason people are focusing on it is because of the sticky stuff. And because batting is not as big as it was. And it's not just a select few amount of pitchers. Okay? It's not. It's not. Look at the facts. It's 80 to 90% of the league is using it. It's not just 2 to 3 pitchers. It's not just a handful. If you look at the facts, if you read into it, over half the league was using it. And now they're starting to crack down on it for one reason and one reason only. Because hitting's down. That's all. Last season we were all complaining that there was too many hits and there was too many home runs. Now this season there isn't. So now everyone's calling pitchers crazy. And now everyone's worried about spin rate. People, you got to find somewhere in the middle. You can't always complain. It's America's pastime. It's one of the best sports out there. If you like the sport so much, you can't complain about everything they put in place. I don't care how it is. Hit all the home runs you want. I don't care. Personally, I think they should have kept the ball the same. And I think they should have got rid of the extra. Should have been just go back to regular baseball. And I would love for the crazy networks and all these fans, I would love to stop focusing so much on spin rate. Stop. Just stop focusing on spin rate. I'll tell you why. First of all, personally me, I don't even know what it means. Second of all, you're looking at spin rate, and I'm sure 90% of people that are really caught up in spin rate have no clue what RPMs even mean. Have no clue what the average is. Have no clue what's considered a bad spin rate. Have no clue what's considered a good spin rate. Look at the stats that we know stuff about. Garrett Cole is still averaging 11.7 strikeouts per 9. Okay? Look at the stats. Not just the spin rate. He throws out there and throws 8 innings. His spin rate's down. Who cares? He went out there and threw 8 innings. Who cares? Spin rate is getting blown out of proportion, and it's really frustrating. It's only happening because hitting's down. It's the only reason it's happening. And Rob Manfred and the MLB, instead of cracking down and being so caught up in spin rate, they should just go back to regular baseball. Go back to the normal extra innings. Go back to the normal 9. Go back to the regular doubleheaders. Go back to normal baseball. And to all the people that are getting caught up on spin rate, well, that stinks. Because everyone's going to be all complaining about spin rate. If Garrett Cole tonight goes out there and throws 8 innings, is his spin rate's down. Everyone's complaining about his spin rate. Who cares? He threw 8 innings. Who cares? Who cares? And like I said, I'm sure over 90% of the league doesn't even know what spin rate even means. And yet, we're still talking about it. You're asking me? Simple answer. I think spin rate's stupid. I think it's stupid. I think it's getting blown out of proportion. I think people are being way too crazy with it. And I don't think, I think people with the strikeouts and the spin rate and being all worried about it, you're psyching yourself out for no reason. I mean, getting worried that a guy's spin rate's down, I'm sorry, you're just getting yourself all nervous for no reason. That's really how it is. That's really all it is. You're going to get yourself all nervous and all pumped up for no reason if a guy's spin rate's down. I mean, tonight Cole's pitching. This is why I talked about this tonight. Am I concerned about Cole's spin rate? No, I can care less about his spin rate. I don't care. Let his spin rate be down. I don't care. Spin rate was never this big of an issue until now. And that just goes to show you how useless it is. It's been a big topic for a week now. That just goes to show you how much it means absolutely nothing. It means nothing. Okay? Spin rate is garbage. No, I don't care. I don't care about it. Cole's pitching tonight. Am I really going to hear people complaining that his spin rate's down after tonight if he goes out there and throws well? Even if he goes out there and it isn't good. Still, I don't care about his spin rate. There's times throughout the season where the spin rate's up and down. No one's ever talked about it. It's only brought to our attention now because of 1/2 of a season. Not even it's halfway. See what's happened to baseball before the All-Star break? I think the win-loss record's useless as a pitcher. I think spin rate is completely useless. And like I said, there's a lot of people out there who are all caught up into the spin rate and are actually listening to the spin rate and can't even tell you what RPMs mean and what the decimal means and if it's higher or lower, what the average is. I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't. That's how much I don't care about spin rate. And it's not just a select few pitchers that have been using it. It's 80 to 90% of the MLB. It's not just Garrett Cole. It's not just Bauer. It's not just Glasnow. It's over half the league. That's why they're inspecting everybody. And they're also doing it because strikeouts are down. And that's the big question. Answer this. Was spin rate a hot topic last season? If it's that important, then why hasn't spin rate been a hot topic for every year in baseball? It's only a hot topic now because hitting is not what it was. And part of the reason that is because a little bit about the baseball. Because these pitchers, people, have been using it for years. That's what people don't understand. Look at the big picture. It's been going on for baseball since it started. This isn't the only season. Blown out of proportion. Completely blown out of proportion. And pitchers are proving it. Pitchers are going out there without it and proving that they're doing perfectly fine. But it does help you grip the baseball. It does. And I don't care if they use a substance or not. Because you want to know why? Last season, they were using a substance. And guess what? Last season, there was a lot of home runs hit. In 2019, they were using foreign substances. And guess what? In 2019, offense was at an all-time high. Were we all focused on it then? No. It's getting blown out of proportion because of one. It's because of the start of this season has been like this. And you look at it, it's also because baseball players, a lot of the players in the MLB, their swing paths are down. Guys are hitting, swinging for the fences. Guys are just hitting to hit home runs. Okay? That just goes to show you how it's so not important and how it's getting blown out of proportion. Because we've never talked about spin rate. We never talked about this stuff so much. Only now, this year, we're going to talk about it. And now only this year, Rob Manfred's actually doing something about it. Right? So, it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. Can't tell you how many times and people have asked me to talk about this, so I'm talking about it. And if you're one of those people that get caught up in spin rate, get caught up in spin rate. I don't mind. I'm just telling you my side of it. You could get all caught up in spin rate. You could call these guys cheaters. You could say whatever you want. All right? I'm just letting you know. Spin rate's useless. And next year, if they decide to come to an agreement on something, if the baseballs get switched, and if they, change the game a little bit, spin rate's not going to be anything. That just goes to show you how unimportant spin rate is. You really think these, it just goes to show you how it's not important. Cole's strikeouts are down. Okay, guess what? He still threw 8 innings. This guy only threw 6 strikeouts. All right, he still threw 8 innings. He still threw 7 innings. He still only allowed 1 run ball. Why are we complaining about spin rate and strikeouts? Why? Why are we complaining about spin rate? I think it's useless. I think the spin rate talk is getting blown out of proportion, and it needs to stop now. Simple as that. Simple as that. It needs to stop now. So, and for the 20th time, there's not just 2 pitchers using it. It's across the league. That's a fact. Look at the evidence. Right? Look at the evidence. I'm a guy, I'm like that. Opinions are great and all that. Look at the evidence. It's not just Cole. It's not just Bauer. It's not just Glasnow. 80 to 90% of the league was using it. And spin rate's only going to get more hyped up now because and of course spin rate's going to be down. No one cares. Who cares though? Spin rate, it's just, I could go on and on and on about this. I really could. There's so many other reasons why it's useless. But to the fans out there, I would say stop listening to spin rate because it's just useless. And you'll learn eventually. People will get it eventually. If next season spin rate's not a conversation, you'll get it eventually. They'll get it. Right? At the beginning of the season, was spin rate a talk? No. May, was it a talk? No. We've hit June. Oh, wow. Spin rate. Everyone cares about spin rate now, huh? Spin rate decides whether a pitcher is good or not. Wow. Really? So, that's quite ironic. Spin rate's been a conversation for a month, and now all of a sudden, everyone's all concerned about spin rate. And everyone's all, spin rate. No. I think spin rate's useless. I don't think anyone should be concerned about it. I think spin rate, strikeouts are all useless. Or strikeouts, no, take that back. Strikeouts, I do like to look at strikeouts, right? Because I do like when guys can throw out there and throw strikeouts. I do like that. But in terms of spin rate, I think that's useless. I think it's useless. It is completely blown out of proportion, useless. Alright, so coming up next here, I wanted to get into Ben Simmons and, his situation there in Philadelphia. Obviously, they got eliminated, and I wanted to get into just talking about him because he is a guy that, he's a guy that is just, his time there could be up. So I wanted to get into that coming up next. Alright, so welcome back here. First off, before I get to Ben Simmons here, I did want to just read to Garrett Cole really quickly. His stats. Let's just look at his stats really quickly. Alright, so this season he's 8-3. That's tied for 4th in the league. He's got a 2.31 ERA. That's 12th in the league. He's got 117 strikeouts. That's tied 5th in the league. And he's got a .58. He's got a .85 WHIP. That's 6th in the league. So you look at those numbers. Those are all top 15 in the entire MLB. Those are all top 12 in the entire MLB. Look at his WAR, 3.6. Look at his win percentage, 7.727. Let's look at his innings pitched, 89.2 thirds. Let's look at the strikeouts, 117. Let's look at the walks. He's only had 12 walks this season. Last season in 12 games, he had 17 walks. This season in 14 games, he's only had 12 walks. His Ks per 9 are 9.8. He's only allowed 64 hits this season. He's allowed 24 runs this season. He's got a 2.31 ERA, which is 12th in the league. He's got one of the lowest ERAs so far out of any season he's ever pitched. His WHIP is the lowest as well, .85. Right? The innings pitched, 89.2 thirds. When you look at all the numbers, right? You look at all the numbers, and they all match up. So, just looking at spin rate tells you absolutely nothing about a pitcher. Right? It tells you absolutely nothing. Getting caught up in spin rate tells you absolutely nothing about how the pitcher is pitching. Cole's spin rate was down the other start. Did he pitch good? Yeah. The other start too. For a lot of starts recently. His spin rate was down against the Twins. Did he pitch good? Yeah. His spin rate was down against the Blue Jays. Did he pitch good? Yeah, he pitched 8 innings. Just goes to show you how useless spin rate is. Alright, so let's get into Ben Simmons now. You obviously got my opinion on spin rate. But yeah, anyway, obviously the Philadelphia 76ers on Sunday night got eliminated by the Atlanta Hawks, where they lost the Atlanta Hawks Game 7. The 76ers go home early once again, and the Atlanta Hawks obviously move on to the second round. So obviously the Atlanta Hawks will now play against the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Phoenix Suns are right now in a series against the Clippers, and that series is Suns are up 1-0 in that series. They got another game tonight, and tomorrow night will start the Hawks Bucks series. So that's your little bit of a playoff update. Definitely surprising right now that the Hawks are in the Eastern Conference Finals, and obviously Nets losing to the Bucks and the Sixers losing to the Bucks. The top two teams in the Eastern Conference are no longer in there, and it's pretty funny because same thing in the Western Conference. The best team in the Western Conference, the number 1 seed, got eliminated as well. So far, I feel like this playoff has been a little bit of the underdog, taking over. Not that the Clippers are an underdog, but the Clippers are a 4 seed, Suns are a 2 seed, and the Hawks are a 4 seed, and the Bucks are a 3 seed. So not the 1 and 2 seeds are all battling it out. The 1-2 seeds are eliminated, and the 1 seed from the West is eliminated there in the Utah Jazz. But right now, the 76ers have a very interesting situation on their hands. And, teams go through this, right? Teams, they go through like a rebuild phase, and you go through the trust the process phase, and especially with the 76ers, that is what happened. The 76ers went through this phase where it was the trust the process type phase. It was all those years of losing, and they were terrible, and they were awful, and they just tanked, and they were just getting draft picks, and then they were able to get Embiid, and they were able to get Simmons, and they were able to get a solid supporting cast, and they have very much so lived under expectations. They have not lived up to expectations at all. They've not exceeded expectations. They have not come anywhere close to the expectations set by the team and by the fan base, by the 76ers fan base. And part of the reason that is because of Ben Simmons' poor play. And I've said this for a while now, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me. I've always said this. I've thought for a while now that Ben Simmons was always a little bit overrated in the NBA. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me. I'm going to get a lot of disagreements today in this podcast. I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me on the spin rate. A lot of people would probably disagree with me with this. But I've always considered Ben Simmons and a little bit of an overrated player. And it's not that he's bad by any means. Now, I don't think he's that good. I would say he's mainly overrated in terms of his ability on the offensive side of the ball. I think people think he's a lot better than really what he is. I mean, he only averages 14.3 points per game, which is 66th in the entire NBA. That's not very good. Now, is he an offensive threat? No, but for a point guard, for a guy who's been in the league now this was his 4th year, for a guy who's 24 years old, you got to expect that he would at least show some improvement on the offensive side of the ball and some improvement some improvement on the offensive side of the ball and some improvement in the playoffs. And this season, he actually showed a lot of, he actually showed taking a step back. In his career, he's a 15.9% in his career, he averages 15.9 points per game. Rounded up, that's about 16. This season, he was below his point average, 14.3. This is the lowest points per game he's had in a single season in his entire career. And like I said, it's only 4 years, but still, it's low. And obviously, you look at his rebounds, was the lowest ever in his career. His assist was lowest in his career. His blocks were low, not that he's a big block guy. His free throw percentage was up. You got to give him that. It was actually down from last season, but still, it was up from his entire career. His career free throw percentage is 59.7%. He had 61.3. So in terms of if you look at, the way he played this season, he did not have a great season by any means. He really didn't. And I understand he was in the voted for Defensive Player of the Year, and I understand he's very good on the defense side of the ball. But when it comes to big moments in games, when it comes to the playoffs, when it comes to making a play on offense, Ben Simmons cannot get it done. And this season, I think, showed more than anything. Because this season, he did not have a very good year. And I understand that, yes, they only played 72 games, and he played 58. I get that. And even if it was an 82-game season, he might have had 10 more games to play, 10 more games to be better. I get that. But still, 58 games played this season, 32.4 minutes per game, which is, by the way, under his career average. He usually averages about 33.9 minutes per game. This season, he only averaged about 10.1 field goals per game. In his career, he averages about 11.6 field goals per game. His field goal percentage this season was 55.7%. His field goal percentage for his career is 56. That's also below average. 3-point percentage, I'm not even going to get into that because he doesn't really shoot many threes. His free throws this season, 61.3% free throw percentage. His career is 59.7%. Rebounding this season, he had 7.2 rebounds per game. His career is 8.1 rebounds per game. Assists this season, 6.9 assists per game. His career is 7.7 assists per game. Steals this season, 1.6. His career is 1.7 per game. Not going to get into that, though. That's still pretty good, averaging a steal per game. And his points, 14.3 per game, points per game this season, 15.9 in his career. Almost every major stat category you look at was below the year before, the last year's stats, and was below his average per career, which is his average. His season's average, pretty much, is his career. He was below in a lot of categories, especially in the playoffs, and especially in Game 7 on Sunday night. He had a golden opportunity to make that layup. He had a wide open shot, and he passed it. A golden opportunity. A wide open shot, and he passed up on it. And sure enough, they ended up losing the game because of that. That's a pivotal play if he shoots that. I believe Matisse Thybulle, I believe if I'm remembering correctly, didn't he? He got fouled, went to the line, made one, missed one, went 1 for 2 at the line. And I mean, Simmons just should never pass up the ball. And Embiid said in his post-game press conference, if we don't pass up an open shot, and maybe if we decide, maybe if we just overall, make a better decision there, we maybe win that game. And that was kind of, in a way, like ratting out Ben Simmons in a way. And kind of pointing the finger at Ben Simmons. And the 76ers have a lot of questions this offseason. Because they had questions going into last year's offseason. They hired Doc Rivers, and you're like, oh yeah, this is big. Then now this offseason, they don't exceed expectations. And yet again, what are you going to do with Ben Simmons? Joel Embiid, you're going to keep him. But yet again, what are you going to do with Ben Simmons? I think it's time for the 76ers to pull the trigger and get rid of Ben Simmons. I do. 4 years here. He has not improved much in the offense. People said that his three-point shooting would come along and his offense would come along. He hasn't improved. This season, he had a drop-off in major stat categories. He did not have a very good year overall. I understand he only played 58 games, but that was actually one more than last year. And I understand last year was a weird year, but still. He did not have a good year. If I'm the 76ers, I do think it's time to pull the trigger and get rid of Ben Simmons. I do. He has not shown enough to me as an NBA fan, and he definitely enough to the 76ers organization that he can be the guy to lead this game and team at point guard. He's a point guard that cannot shoot. He cannot come up big. He can't make the big shot late in games. I mean, this is a league now that's turning into a shooting league, and he can't do that. You've got a very good big in Joel Embiid. You need a guy that's capable of making a big three late. They do not have that in Ben Simmons. I think the best decision for the 76ers would be get rid of Ben Simmons and start over with a new point guard. Whether that's through the draft, whether that's through free agency, because Ben Simmons has not shown you enough that he can be the every game point guard for the next 10 years. Joel Embiid has shown you that he can be the face of the franchise. Simmons has not. And it doesn't look like he's getting close because this season he only got worse. And the 76ers, it is time. All of this, what are the Sixers going to do this offseason? All this questioning, it shouldn't even be a question anymore. You should already have an answer ready. Ben Simmons should not be your point guard next season for the Sixers. And no, I don't mean switch him to a different position. I mean get rid of him. He was terrible in the playoffs. He was not good. He was not clutch. He hasn't been clutch. He passed up a great opportunity. And yet again, another empty-handed season for the 76ers. And a big part of it was Ben Simmons' bad decision-making, especially in the playoffs. And overall, Ben Simmons' bad play. And I get it, he's good on the defense side, but you already got a defender in Joel Embiid. You don't need another one. You need a guy that's going to be big on offense and be a clutch performer. Ben Simmons does not bring that to the table. It's time for the 76ers to pull the trigger. And who knows, maybe they do decide, hey, one more year. Maybe even give him half a year. Get rid of him at the trade deadline. Give him one more year. Tell him, you got this offseason. If you can't work on your shot, it's it. You got to come next season better offensive player. Defense, continue to improve on that. He's been out good on defense. But he's got to be better overall. And like I said, this season didn't give you any promise as if you're a Sixers fan that he's taking a step in the right direction. If anything, he only took a step back this season. And this whole trust the process thing for the 76ers just isn't working out. It's just not working out. We'll see what happens. Let's get into the New York sports update to finish off this Tuesday edition of BSN Network Podcast. Alrighty. Alright, so let's get into the New York sports update here to finish off the podcast. As for the NBA, obviously yesterday there was no games on, but today we got the Suns-Clippers. Give me the Suns to win. Yesterday, like I mentioned earlier, the Lightning dominated the Islanders. Lightning won 8-0. Today we got the Vegas Golden Knights and Canadiens. Give me Vegas. I think Canadiens are going to make the thing interesting, but give me the Vegas to win. Alrighty, as for the MLB, yesterday the Padres won, Twins won, Diamondbacks won, Cheaters won, Rangers won, Indians won, Mets won game 1 4-2, and the Braves won game 2 1-0. As for today, we got the Twins Reds. I'll give Reds the win. Cheaters Orioles. I'll give Cheaters the win. Phillies Nationals. I'll give Phillies the win. White Sox Pirates. I'll give White Sox the win. Marlins Blue Jays. Give Marlins the win. Tigers Cardinals. I'll give Cardinals the win. Rays Red Sox. Give Rays the win. A's Rangers. Give A's the win. Cubs Indians. Give Cubs the win. Angels Giants. Give Angels the win. Brewers Diamondbacks. Give Brewers the win. Padres Dodgers. Give Padres the win. And Mariners Rockies. Give Mariners the win. As for today, we got the Mets and the Braves. Mets come in this game 37-30. Braves come in this game 34-37. This game goes on today, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. Charlie Morton's on the mound for the Braves. He's 6-3 this season with a 4.03 ERA. And the Mets got Marcus Stroman on the mound. He's 6-5 this season with a 2.35 ERA. This game, the over/under is 7.5 for this game. 68% of people say the Mets will win. Give me the Mets the win. Yankees also play today. Yankees come in this game red hot at a 38-33 record. Royals come in this game 32-38. This game goes on today, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Yes Network. The Royals got Brad Singer on the mound. He's 3-5 with a 4.77 ERA. And the Yankees are rolling out their ace, Garrett Cole. He's on the mound tonight with he's 8-3 on the season with a 2.31 ERA. The over/under is 7.5 for this game. And 87% of people say the Yankees will win. The Yankees are rolling right now. Give me the Yankees. They will continue to play well, I think. Wander Franco as well. He makes his MLB debut tonight. Alrighty, as for in fantasy football baseball, I'm currently winning 13-12. Today I've got going Will Smith, Matt Olson, Whit Merrifield, Austin Riley, Marcus Semien, Carlos Correa, Jake Cronenworth, Christian Yelich, Austin Meadows, Manuel Margot, Avisail Garcia, Josh Rojas, and J.P. Crawford. And I got Garrett Cole on the mound. Some injury updates are as followed. So Josh Donaldson calf will remain on the bench for Tuesday's game against the Reds. So that's the update there. No real new update on him. And yeah, I'll check if Wander Franco in my league has gotten picked up. I'm sure he's gotten picked up in a lot of leagues. But I wonder if he's gotten picked up in my league yet. I would say he has, probably. I'm going to look, though. I mean, if he's available and he starts to play well, I'll definitely try to take advantage of it. Let's see. Has he gone picked up? Let's look at the recent activity. Or I could just look up his name, Wander Franco. I don't think so, but I can look. Wander Franco. There we go. Let's see. Wow. So he did get called up. And he is on a team. Okay, Franco has been told by the Rays that he'll be called up ahead of Tuesday's game against the Red Sox. Mark Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times reports. So that was that update on him. 78.7% rostered. And he's 42.3% of leagues. And plus 42.3% of leagues have rostered him. So before he got called up, he was, let's see here, before he got called up, 78.7. So before he got called up, he was rostered in 36.4% of leagues. Now he is rostered in 78.7% of leagues. So that's a 42.3% increase. So he is definitely a popular name now in fantasy baseball. And a player in my league does have him, and he's got him in his lineup. Number one prospect in baseball. He's got him in his lineup, and we'll see how it all plays out. I don't know if he's playing today or when he'll play. I'm sure he'll play today. I can only assume, but yeah. So that should be fun. That's exciting. It's exciting for MLB. It's exciting for baseball. It's exciting for me, obviously, as a fan. Every time you see, a guy that good or a prospect that's highly rated come up through the MLB, it's really something that's special, because that's stuff you don't see all the time. Some of these big stars that become big stars, they're, when they get up there. Last night I was watching College World Series and Jack Leiter was out there. He's fun to watch, and that's a guy too that. He's one of the best draft prospects out there, and he's another guy, too, that, him, Kumar Rocker, they're going to be fun to follow throughout their careers. There's going to be guys that have very successful careers. So, but yeah, tonight, Cole's on the mound. Don't worry about the spin rate, please. It's useless. Don't worry about it. That's my whole thing on it. But anyway, that's what I got for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. As always, we'll have another podcast tomorrow, so that should be good. And, yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.